Alright, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chupacabra's lair. I'm your host, Larry, and today we're going to be checking out Sublevel Zero Redux, which just came out for PlayStation 4 and the other consoles as well. And this is a re-release, or like a remastered release, of the original Sublevel Zero, which was released back in 2015 on Steam and PC, and this is sort of the updated version, which has been tweaked and added to significantly so that they could have a big brand spanking new release out on consoles that was a little bit more than just a plain Jane port. And Sublevel Zero is a game that is a sort of spiritual successor to games like Descent, which was a game that lets you roam around asteroids and space stations back in 1995 that got a number of DLCs and I think some mini sequels, and people have been waiting for a new version of that for quite some time, and I think the people behind Star Citizen or someone involved with them is actually working on a proper sequel that was up on Kickstarter. So this is a type of game that is a roguelike, and it takes you into a space station to destroy ancient drones and unlock humanity's lost secrets and technological knowledge. And it offers you, and its main selling point is that it offers you a 6 degrees of freedom as opposed to a dogfighting simulator where you have to constantly maintain a forward momentum. But I'll illustrate what that is in a moment. We're just going to start a new game in a standard gunship on normal mode, and we'll leave the tutorial on just so I get a good opportunity to showcase exactly how this game plays. So the story is that no one remembers what happened or why, but for hundreds of years the universe has been falling apart at the seams. Whole solar systems vanish, reappearing light years away, if at all. Wormholes spontaneously form, shears in space-time that swallow unwary ships and tear planets into new asteroid fields. Humanity was scattered, strewn amongst the stars in disparate clans, having forgotten the majority of science and technology that was the fearsome sum of human knowledge. Most clans do what they can to survive as reality decays around them. Warlords prey on them while ruling over lawless systems enabled by their possession of rare pre-event warships. But some clans seek out old knowledge, hoping to understand and ultimately reverse whatever happened centuries ago. A scout for your clan, you've stumbled across an ancient facility in an uncharted system hidden in an asteroid belt ravaged by flux storms. The station is guarded by automated defenses, all the telltale signs of a final resting place for arcane pre-event technology. Through thick interference, you contact the clan elders, wait for a task force, gather intel, you jump closer to the facility to get as much information as possible. Too late, you realize the facility itself is the cause of the storms. The surge of energy as you exit the flux tips the unstable fabric of reality over the edge, tearing a hole through which the facility, asteroids, and your gunship disappear. Lost beyond reach of your small flux drive, your only option now is to enter the facility yourself in hopes that the technology within can get you home, and perhaps help your clan understand why the universe is ripping itself apart. So that's a very nice and very simple story foundation for a roguelike game. I'm mostly used to a lot of roguelikes that kind of don't give you a story at all, or give you only the framework for a story that you have to sort of fill in the blanks yourself. And the idea of, some sort of apocalyptic event happening that causes humanity to lose the sum of their ancient knowledge, not a new concept, but certainly a tried and true and pretty well established concept that's easy to work with. So this is the whole of the game. It's a game full of very low poly graphics and neon lights that greet you at every turn. And we're playing in some sort of futuristic gunship whose entire purpose is to fight our way through this facility, destroying ancient drones and recovering enough components to create an advanced flux drive so we can teleport or warp our way home. And when I was talking about that 6 degrees of freedom from before, that means that we can kind of list and strafe backward and forth, from left to right, forwards, backwards, up, down, and also reorient ourselves in space while we fight different enemies, which is a much nicer way of handling something like a dogfighting environment where you're shooting things inside of a spaceship. This game also provides you with the ability to sort of mix and match a number of weapons and equipment that randomly spawn, so you can kind of mix and match your favorite playstyle depending on how you feel while you surf through this game. And that's something that I like. That's what you kind of get in a lot of games like The Binding of Isaac, which is another very classic roguelike that's been very popular in the past few years. And that's something that you really want in a roguelike. To really give it that replayability, you want a lot of different weapons and a lot of different equipment. Like I can equip different hulls and engines and different rockets and lasers. You really want to give people a wide variety of things to use that gives this game a lot of replayability. Because with a roguelike that's randomly generated, you really need that replayability in order to give people an incentive to buy. And this is about a $20 title, so it's not super expensive, but it's just expensive enough that that's this thing that a lot of people are on the lookout for. Now, one of the things that I normally have problems with in a game like this is making sure that I don't get lost, but handy enough, we actually have a map of the facility of all the rooms that we've visited so far, and using the same arrow controls and joystick controls, you can very easily navigate this to see exactly where you are and where you need to go next via things like these little green doors, which tell you entrances and exits that you can actually use, as opposed to the ones that are sealed that are in X's. So that's always a really good feature, because one of the things that I have trouble with in games that offer 360-degree motion like this is I get lost and discombobulated very easily. And this game does a nice job of combating that by offering you the automated system of your ship always kind of tracks to a surface, like it's tracking to the edge of a square somewhere. And that makes it a lot easier for you to keep track of where you are in three-dimensional space, so you don't end up getting nauseous or barfy, which has always been one of my issues in games that just kind of throw you into three-dimensional space without any generic reference points to use to orient yourself. Because that's something that you have to get over, even if you're like trying to be a pilot in, say, the Air Force. So the other thing that this game has a pretty good job of offering is it offers you an ever-growing and expansive group of enemies that all behave a little bit differently. Like these guys here, these little gold-colored sentries, they have a tendency of sneaking up on you and going right up into your face and shooting you point blank and doing a whole boatload of damage. And they're actually surprisingly sneaky. Like, they sneak up on you from around corners, they kind of hide out of your field of vision, and they're kind of spicy. A lot of the other enemies that you'll see, like those purple guys, they're kind of just a generic sentry. They just slowly list through here shooting at you. And they also have, like, snipers and shotgun dudes, and also suicide machine gunners that are really fast and deadly but don't have a lot of health. So there's a whole load of different variety in this game. And that's a very good basis for any roguelike to get started. So here we got like a dude who shoots missiles. These are almost like an observer type enemy that kind of watch you with one giant murdery eyeball and then blast you with missiles from different points on the map. They're not super dangerous, but again, like any good roguelike, the enemies kind of slowly ramp up as you go along. So let's see what's in this magic murder chest, and some of these chests are actually booby-trapped and spawn enemies to come touch you. But what we're looking for right now is somewhere in this facility, on each one of these levels is some type of like reactor pod that we're gonna end up fighting, and those are kind of like the boss rooms. And where are we? I've already been through that section. I want to go over here. But yeah, so those are kind of like the boss rooms, and the generators themselves can often be the main enemy. They shoot off lasers and missiles and pulse bombs. Up here we go, this is the reactor room. And they provide you with all number of obstacles that might blow you up or destroy you to give you different challenges through each different level. And I think we got a couple of other weapons here. We got a scout engine and a tortoise hull. I'm not sure what the difference is here. Looks like this thing gives us different ammo reserves and different armor and HP. So let's equip this tortoise hull. That's a little bit better than our standard hull. And let's equip the scout engine. I'm not sure what the difference is. And then we'll proceed. I think I'll actually switch out to my rapid fire weapon, because these generator rooms are often filled with a boatload of enemies. And yep, that's exactly what it is. I'll just use some missiles to clear out in front of us, as my frame rate kind of hiccups a little bit. And our goal is we want to survive being shot up by things like this. I don't know, is this a rapid fire sentry? It looks like it. We're starting to get some newer sentries here. You also get like wall crawlers and sniper sentries. There's a whole bunch of things that you can fight in here. And I'm actually going to use this rapid fire missiles to blow the pants off of this. And once this is destroyed, we'll get that flux drive core, and they'll also open up a teleportation hub here that'll teleport us to the next level. Now, something I think is probably a good idea is to probably clear out every one of these enemies on a level, because they all drop nanites, which allow you to slowly upgrade your ship. So you can get things like specializing in energy weapons, which will make it do a lot more damage, or bullet hoarder that will maximize your bullet ammunition, but reduce how much energy and plasma you can hold. I think I like energy specialist, because that's the type of weapons that are my favorite so far. But there's a whole boatload of different types of weapons, so you want to be careful about not specializing too hard with your upgrades, otherwise you kind of limit yourself. So let's see here, what do we get? We got dangerous homing missiles. Let's use that in place of the dumbfire missiles. And it's good to note that each one of these weapons has a drawback of like accuracy versus damage and all sorts of stuff to keep in mind when you're roaming through here. The other thing is there's actually a bit of story thrown in here in the form of these almost military data logs. And this one says, "I know it's totally unfair. I see that hardware getting unboxed. I want to play with it. Why do 3F Shift get their hands on it? I've been here for longer than any of them anyway. And why do we even have that stuff? I can't think of anything that needs drones like that around here. I mean, I know that they're telling us is just a cover, and they know we know. Just something we can tell anyone who asks instead of, I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you." But still, it doesn't line up with, then the rest of this message is garbled. But come up with something a bit more convincing, why don't you? So basically what that's saying is that whatever was being done in this facility was sort of top secret, and they didn't want that knowledge getting out to the general populace. So this was like either a military facility or some really deep R&D going on here. So that might add to the story, and typically in a storyline like this, the main thing that happens is that there was some type of war, or the military decided to test some new type of terrifying weapon that ended up tearing the whole thing to pieces. Now, the question is always with a story like that, would people from the future, no matter how educated they are, even know what to do with that information? I kind of doubt it, but I mean, I'm not an interstellar tribe person, so it's hard to say. I tend to keep my feet thoroughly on the ground and not worry about any of that. So the other thing to take a look at in a game like this is that it doesn't exactly spend a lot of time on the graphical side, adding a boatload of polygons. And normally I'd always question that, but this is a game that's more about just enjoying a low-poly environment, blasting a bunch of robots. And robots, if you're being super efficient in sci-fi and space, don't generally need a boatload of detail to them. They don't need to look like the Mona Lisa flying around with a handgun. So what they do with the graphics, while not photorealistic, does a nice job of combining low poly and neon, like really bright, saturated colors in order to express everything in here. So that includes things like every enemy sort of has its own color and immediately distinguishable shape. Like the snipers we're going to see here in a minute, I'm sure. They are red and they have like a really thin, long snout to them off to one side that they use to shoot the pants off of you. Up, looks like we got a new hull. We got a bomber hull, but unfortunately our inventory is full. So I need to drop some of this stuff. It's weird that you'd have to worry about cargo space in the future, even if we are just a dumb space hillbilly. But what are you gonna do? And there's really not a lot of reason to hang on to stuff because you don't use it as crafting material. You mostly use it for things like... well, you just kind of toss it on the ground if you don't end up using it. So you just use money to craft stuff and that's about it. So let's see, am I going the wrong way? I am going the wrong way. Somewhere there is a door that leads to the next area, and I want to see it, because we gotta see the new enemies. But yeah, I think that while the graphics are not crazy, they're pretty good. Like, they handle what they've got very well, and I wouldn't necessarily need too much else to go crazy and be happy with this game. And honestly, as far as roguelikes go, this one ramps up pretty casually. Like, I haven't found myself being overly overwhelmed at any point, and I've liked what I see so far. So here we go, we've got some sniper robots here. And these guys are really annoying because they do a boatload of damage. So I'm just going to blast a lot of them from a distance. Otherwise, they'll kind of shred me. Other thing that you might notice about this game is a lot of these different robots appear to be in a very specific environment. Like, the sniper robots kind of only appear in the asteroid, as if they're some type of mining robot. Whereas those other sentries are almost like security monitors that are really beefy and well armored that are defending like the research side of the facility. So it's almost like there's a taxonomy to what these different robots are doing and what their purpose is inside of this facility. So I thought that was a nice touch. It goes really well with the storyline of this being a research facility with some weird high-tech, high-security stuff going on. Now, my only complaints about this game is that some of these weapons don't seem like they're very interesting or very dynamic or different from their various counterparts, so you don't get a lot of really fun arcadey combinations like you would in, say, a game like The Binding of Isaac, where you can literally have a hellfire singularity coming out of your mouth, or you can create like a miniature planet that causes like time and space to invert on itself. So I was a little disappointed about that. That might change as you get super deep into the game. I've not played ultra deep into it, but what I do see, it's alright. It's not crazy, but it's alright. So the question for a lot of people is going to be, does this provide enough variety to keep people replaying? So if you like a game that has kind of like a dogfighty environment to it like this, you'd probably be really satisfied with it. For my money, I'd probably get it because it's on the relaxing side. Let's see, do I want a weak laser? What's our current laser doing? This is better accuracy, but it's got shitty damage, so I'm gonna dump you. So let's dump our laser. Rapid grenades I don't like because those things blow up in your face a lot. We'll dump the bomber hull because I don't need that. We'll get all the goodies out of there. And then what was over here? This was a missile. It's the chaotic hurling missile. We kind of already have that, but let's grab it anyway. You know, I think the kind of thing I wouldn't mind in a missile would be like a cluster bomb that fires off into the distance and then fires off into smaller things that then blow up and destroy everything in sight. But yeah, I found this to be an actually pretty relaxing game. It's got a good soundtrack. There's plenty of funky stuff going on to keep you busy. Oh, what? Oh, there's stuff hiding in here. Stuff wants my booty. Let's back off with our jump jets. What was that? Oh, it's one of those wall crawlers. I think those guys are kind of cute. Those are probably my favorite enemy in here to kill so far. They kind of remind me of, like, an ant or something. What the hell? Oh, frickin' wall crawlers. Knock it off with your shenanigans, sir. And these things do a boatload of damage. Holy smokes. But yeah, I found this pretty relaxing, and I totally would recommend this game to anybody. It'll depend on whether or not you think you want to spend about $20 on a roguelike. A low poly roguelike. Not everybody does, and I can certainly understand that. But I think it's worth the money, and you can certainly get it on a sale. PlayStation certainly has sales occasionally. Xbox probably has a sale now and then. Certainly no worries there. So let's kill this last power core before we get out of here. And that'll be about it for this one. We'll just kill everybody, and this core might showcase, it might. Don't quote me on that. It might showcase what it looks like when the core decides to fight back and touch your booty. So oh, yep, it's gonna do lasers. Ow, 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 ow. We'll just bob and weave, Larry, bob and weave. There we go, much better. Let's grab all these upgrades and everything, and the part of the warp core, and let's get in here. So yeah, the goal of this game, you want to escape the facility, probably intact. Otherwise, yeah, that's about it. You want to get out of here alive with as much information and data as possible to get your maximum high score. And then the thing keeping you playing over and over again is that variety of weapons and variety of things. In fact, let me quit to the menu here. And the other thing that's keeping you going is as you kill newer enemies and you kill enough of these enemies, you start to unlock things like newer hulls. Like you can unlock a Pyro, or a Hulk, or a Berserker. There's all kinds of presets that you can play around with that'll give you some different options on your gameplay. You can also do some basic changes of the control scheme. You can also change the field of view if you need, in case you find that 80, the default, makes you kind of barfy. Like, maybe I personally might switch it to like 90 if I was going to play this in the long term. And that's about it. It's a pretty fun game, pretty simple and straightforward, and I think it's pretty decent. So that's it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your host, Larry the Chupacabra. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you're interested in checking this game out for yourself, I will put a link in the description to the website, and also to the relevant stores where you can look at this for all of the different consoles. And until next time, I've been your host, Larry. Toodles, everybody, and have a good one.